Hello YouTubers. Okay, so it's time for another multimeter review. This time it's the turn of the Fluke 177, which is a true RMS multimeter. Thanks again to Comtest for the loan of this unit, because I say again I wouldn't be able to get my hands on this amount of kit if it wasn't for the fact that they loan me this kit to have a look at. Now, this multimeter in essence is kind of billed and is the entry level into the electronics multimeters for Fluke. I do have, as you know, my own personal Fluke 115, but this is targeted more at electrical work because it doesn't have a milliamp setting on it. And it's also, as you can see, it only has the three connection points: your common, voltage, resistance, and then amps. Whereas the 117 has your normal four connecting points, so that you can measure milliamps. So just quickly, a general feel in the hand. Again, very nice plastics. It's got the integrated holster on this, so it's not a holster that comes off, but still a very nice rugged feel to it. And again, the plastics are quite nice. I'll give you a closer look once I do the overhead view and we start taking a closer look at it. The one thing you definitely notice on this is how the selector knob is recessed. You can see it's sat right down like that, as opposed to, let's say, the 115, where the selector knob sits very proud, just as a comparison. So obviously if this falls on its face, it's going to take quite a knock to the selector knob, whereas this 117, you can see there's a little edging up here. So most of it, and it's just literally the rubber buttons are sat fairly recessed. I think put it down on the desk, and yes, it's basically sitting on the rubber. It does have a tilting bail at the back, which has got, it's got these little rubberized, although this is plastic. It's just to, obviously when it's on the desk, the ends here are rubberized to give it better support. Let's just put it down and see how stable it is. It's relatively stable. The 115, I'd say, is far more stable because it's smaller in size. The ultimate test is, how does it turn? Can I operate it single-handed while it's on that tilting bell? And yes, most certainly I can. The selector switch goes around very nicely, and I must say it's actually got quite a nice feel, because I don't know if you notice, it's got this kind of rounded edge into the selector switch, which means it's quite friendly for putting your fingers in and having a little grip. Anyway, so that's just a quick little first initial feel of the multimeter. I will now hook it up and go in for a closer look, and we'll check its accuracy and what have you in comparison to the other two Fluke multimeters. Okay, so I've got them all connected up to my variable power supply at the moment, and I've got them down in the range where they will be showing 3 decimal places after the comma. Obviously my Fluke 287 shows 4 because it's got a higher count. The Fluke 115 has a claimed accuracy of 0.5% of DC voltage reading, plus 2 digits. The 117 is 0.09% plus 2 digits of the reading. So I thought I'd just set them up here so we could just have a quick comparison with the Fluke, and so far certainly it's hanging within what it should do. We'll take it up a little bit. One thing as I take it up, just to note, the one thing I kind of noted, I think the update speed is more than adequate, but I think it's actually slightly slower than the Fluke 115, just for interest's sake. It does have that nice bar graph on there, and what we'll do quickly, we'll just go and have a quick closer look at that bar graph. There we go. And if I vary the voltage up and down, it's a nice, that's the one thing certain, at least it has a nice responsive bar graph. Okay, now what we'll do is I'll just take it up through the voltage range as a comparison, and then we'll come down for a bit of a closer look at it. So it's a 6,000 count multimeter, which is the same as the 115. So once it goes beyond 6 volts, it'll obviously drop down to 2 decimal places. Just have a quick look. Yeah, it's still hanging in terms of its accuracy. There's certainly no problem there with what it's in comparing to the 115 and the 287. The display, just out of interest, what I'm noticing, I think the display, the digit size and everything is the same as the 115. It's that backing of the LCD which seems to be a kind of a lighter or nicer grey than on the 115, in my opinion. I'm looking in the camera now, and I'm certainly picking up, even looking in the camera, that this looks a little bit crisper, the contrast looks a little bit better than the 115. Let's just go up after a little while into the 6 volt range, and there we go, it drops down to the 2 decimal places, and it's certainly fine there. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to just quickly open up my variable power supply so I can go right up through the voltage range. I'll just stop at points to see that it's still hanging in there. Yep. So let's go over 20. 42, yeah. Take it as far as my power supply goes, which is just on 30 volts, and yeah. So certainly within the range that I can go on my power supply, it's certainly hanging in there for accuracy. Okay, let's have a closer look at the little beastie. Okay, so I'm going to bring you in for a closer look, but just again, just as something to note in comparison to the 115, it has basically the same features in terms of a normal hold, a min-max, and a range selector switch, and then the kind of secondary function on your dial switch. Again, just note that the buttons, as you can see, they're in a little bit of a recess there in comparison to the 115. I'm just going to quickly switch off that backlight that I've got, and another ambient light, so we can have a look at the its light. I know there is a little bit of light left in this room, but there's the 115, so it's got a green kind of black backlighting, whereas the 115 has a white, but certainly would make it legible at night time. Okay. Let's have a closer look. You'll have to exclude the reflection of the camera in the display there, but I thought I'd bring you in for a nice little zoom so I can get a little bit of a feel before we start testing other measurements and what have you. So that's the display. Closer look at that, this nice selector knob and the way it's kind of rounded down. I must say it does have a very nice feel to it, and again, the plastics on these, very nice. The banana plug receptacles down here, obviously showing that both of these are fused. Just out of interest, this is the 177. You get a 1 Ooh, is it 176? I forget. There's one more before the 177, and you get a 179. The model before this doesn't quite have the same accuracy as this one. I think it's 0.15% as opposed to 0.09. And the one above this is basically identical, bar it's got a temperature probe. It's got a temperature setting. As far as I can see, that's the only difference from the documentation. Quick look at the back. There's the tilting bail. And just instructions on the fuse. As you can see, it's a 1000 volt Cat 3, 600 volt Cat 4 rated. Okay, so that was the closer look, and what we'll do now is we'll have a look at its continuity and its resistance tests. Okay, I've got it switched on to its continuity tester. So a nice clear loud buzzer on that. No scratching, so we know it's latched. Certainly is the normal Fluke latched continuity tester. And speed wise, going as fast as I can, and again it picks up very quickly. So again, that's what I must say, it's a strong point that Flukes have, is that good fast latching continuity tester. Okay, we'll put it onto the resistance range and we'll just measure this resistor. 390.3 is what it's saying, and just as a comparison we'll bring in my 287. I'll just have to excuse the bit of light on it. .1, so certainly close enough, so nothing wrong with the resistance measuring there. Okay, so the one thing I thought I'd also test was how well it reads millivolts, and particularly that because in essence it is the entry level into an electronics multimeter. And now that I've done a few multimeter reviews, I'm getting a little more conscious and wary of kind of the procedure of getting to the right setting, because I've made several mistakes on some of the Flukes when trying to select certain settings. And those are, like for instance, you'll note on the 115, when you go to millivolts, it defaults to AC. Okay. Now again, so that's, I think, acceptable because obviously it is aimed more at an electrical usage, not an electronics usage. On the 117, when we go to millivolts, it is DC. In fact, okay, you don't even have an AC option there. It is just DC. So I'll switch on my power supply, and there we go. So I'll push the button on the 115 to get it into DC, and let's see if we go up a little bit. Yeah, by all accounts it's sitting there. Now obviously my power supply down to that level is going to be jumping around. So I've kind of limited the range on my the pots on my power supply, so I've got a little bit finer working out of it, but obviously that last digit is going to jump around. But certainly on its millivolt setting, again, it seems to be hanging in there quite fine. But just to note, yeah, procedurally it is different from the 115 in that it's got its own DC millivolt but not AC.